Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? Okay, so we're going to get started here. Let's see, what time do we have? Okay, 1 o'clock. I think I'll probably get us started. A couple things. I do record these webinars. So if you want to watch a future webinar but you're not available at the time, just register for it and you'll get the recording even if you don't attend. So, and we usually do them every Wednesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock. What else? Let's see if you have any questions along the way here. And I think this topic might generate a few questions, but we'll see. If you have any questions, just ask them in the webinar there, and I will answer them for you at the end. Also, last week was nice. I had a couple of people suggest topics for us for future webinars. I'm always open to topics. I mean, I usually do these on something revolving around Medicare or something, in the insurance business, final expense, Medicare, new products that come out. But more or less, the majority of the topics are Medicare. But feel free to make any suggestions for future webinars. A couple of people who just came on, we will record this and we'll send the recording to you. Just register for future reference, even if you can't attend, and we'll send you the recording. So today we're going to talk about Medicare Savings Program in Connecticut for 2022. I'm going to clarify a few things. It's actually a much more confusing topic than one might think until they start kind of doing it and working with it. But so we'll talk about the MSP program. We're going to talk about that versus Medicaid or Husky. It's easy to confuse the two. We'll try to differentiate them and talk about the rules. Talk about QMB, SlimB, and ALMB. I won't talk much about SlimB. There's really no reason to, but just to make you aware of it more than anything. Big one is Husky D versus Husky C. We'll talk about that. The benefits of the plans, income limits for most of them, and then dual plans versus MAPD plans when it comes to these programs. And I'll try to toss a couple examples in and some things that we, you run into more often than not when you're working with this stuff. Okay, so. Okay, so we'll start with the Medicare Savings Program. So first of all, Medicare Savings Program is available in every state. However, to say they're all equal isn't true. I mean, Connecticut is the highest income threshold in the country when it comes to Medicare Savings Program. So this is different than Medicare Savings Program is different than Husky, different than Medicaid, Husky C or D. This is a joint sponsored program, but it's in addition to, and there's a couple different levels of it. The first one, the most robust one, I would say, is QMB. Oh, and people ask all the time, can you have Medicare Savings Program QMB, and can the person also be Husky C? Yes, you can have both for sure. They will overlap completely, but we'll talk a little about that in a few minutes, but you certainly can apply for both. So the QMB level, as you can see, it has no asset test, which is unique. So no asset test in Connecticut. The single max income for 2022 is $2,390 for an individual. That's per month. For a married couple, it's $3,220 per month is the max allowable for QMB. So, and for QMB, the benefits are like all Medicare savings programs. So when it's applicable to all of them, I'll kind of try to point it out. So for QMB, obviously the QMB pays the Part B premium, so they won't pay their Part B premium, and that's the same for any level of Medicare savings program. They will be eligible for most dual plans. There are a few that are, QMB plus or Medicaid, Husky only, but most of them, especially the ones you probably know in Connecticut, being a QMB makes you eligible for most dual plans. It will pay all Part D, Part A, Part B penalties if you're a QMB, so you'll have all those penalties will be taken care of. The Part D late enrollment penalty, the Part B late enrollment penalty, even for people who don't have premium-free Part A, it'll pay for those things. It caps all drug copays. There is no donut hole for a person with QMB, so their copays are going to be greatly limited. They won't have $47 copays, or they won't go into the donut hole and pay $200. It's going to all be capped using the QMB program. and they'll pay the drug plan premium up to the benchmark. I think I give an example of benchmark plans, but that's every year how they do it is they say, okay, we'll pay the premium for a standalone Part D plan or the premium in an Advantage plan, but only up to the benchmark premium amount for the year for those plans. And QMB will pay all copays and deductibles. So, whether they're on original Medicare or whether they're on Medicare Advantage, a dual or non-dual Advantage plan, QMB, any deductibles such as like on the Aetna United plan, any copays, the QMB will take care of that. So it'll pay all copays and deductibles when somebody has a QMB. Okay, so one misconception I think is people think if somebody is a QMB, they got to go on a dual plan, and they don't. Husky and QMB will coordinate with both dual Advantage plans or even a regular MAPD plan. So, if you put somebody on I'm just making this up, but an Anthem Select or an Aetna Elite or a UHC, Walgreens PPO, it doesn't matter. It's going to pay the copays. So they don't have to be in a dual plan. I think people think that a lot. So we got to put them in a dual to get the copays paid. Well, no, QMB will coordinate with any plan, even if it's an Advantage plan. Sometimes you'll see people put customers in a dual plan because it'll have extra benefits, more dental, more vision, transportation, that kind of thing. But it's from a cost share standpoint, it'll work all the same. So if you need be, you can feel free to put somebody in a regular MAPD who's a QMB because it'll cover it. QMB works with all drug plans, obviously, but it'll only cover up to the benchmark premium. So if you enroll somebody in a drug plan that's $70 a month, it's only going to cover up to the benchmark, which is about $45. So they'll have to pay the difference. So it will work with all Advantage drug plans, obviously. It'll only cover, on an Advantage plan, though, it'll only cover the PDP portion of the Advantage plan premium. So if you've got a Advantage plan that's usually $99 a month and you got somebody who's on Medicare Savings Program, it won't cover the whole premium. It's only going to cover up to the benchmark of the drug premium on that plan. So if out of that $99, $50 of that is medical, it's not going to cover that $50. It's going to leave them paying $50. And QMB level does not cover extra benefits for dental, vision, and hearing. So, somebody's at the QMB, they don't get extra dental, vision, and hearing. That's where a dual plan or an Advantage plan would come in really handy. And of course, all levels of Medicare Savings Program, whether it be QMB, SlimB, or ALMB, provides an extra quarterly election for your prospect or client for the first 3 quarters of the year. So they go an extra election just because they have help. Can't be used in the 4th quarter. Okay, I listed the benchmark drug plans. I couldn't remember if I did or not. Here they are for 2020. The Silver Script Choice, you can read them, but the Cigna Secure RX, remember the Cigna plan is not commissionable, Secure RX plan. The Elixir plan, same thing there. Obviously, when they had the name change and went to Elixir, that became non-commissionable for any new rights. They'll still pay you on your old plan, so make sure you do your certifications for that plan. Humana Basics and the AARP Medicare RX Saver Plus and the WellCare Classic. So those are the benchmark plans. So anybody with Medicare Savings Program of any level won't have any premium on those plans. Also plans with zero premium. Those plans will have zero premium, again, whether on Husky or Medicare Savings Program. I wrote down there round robin auto assign for those with Drug Help or Husky because you'll notice a lot of times you get a client who maybe is enrolled in Husky C, or they are, they qualify for QMB and they'll suddenly just have a drug plan. That's because if you're getting help, you've got to have a drug plan for the help to work. So they will auto-assign a drug plan to this person on a round robin, meaning it's just kind of like a queue that it's in. And they'll auto-assign them one of these drug plans as soon as they have Husky C, or if they get one of the Medicare Savings Program levels. So that's how suddenly somebody has a drug plan when they didn't before, when they're first turning 65, for example. Okay, we'll talk about the ALMB level now. Why did I skip SlimB? Because SlimB doesn't really give you anything different than the ALMB level. you're either basically a QMB or an ALMB. I mean, if you're a Slim B, great, but it's not going to give you anything different than really what the ALMB did. So I'm not even going to really talk about the Slim B level, but the ALMB level, again, there's no asset test. The single premium is very high now. Anybody making under 2786 can qualify. Married couple under 3754 can qualify for ALMB. And to make this easy for us, ALMB has the same benefits as QMB. The only difference is ALMB doesn't cover medical copays and cost share. So it does all the things with the drugs. It pays the Part B premium, waives penalties, gives you extra special elections. It, caps your drugs, pays up to the benchmark drug plan premium, pays your Part B premium. The only thing it doesn't do at the ALMB level is pay copays and cost share on an Advantage plan or Original Medicare, like a QMB does. So it's an awesome program. It's great. There's no donut hole on the ALMB. So it does everything QMB does. It just does not, like QMB, it doesn't pay your copays and cost shares. So still very valuable, well worth it. High income level, no asset test. But if you're putting somebody on an Advantage plan, for example, and they're an ALMB, they're still going to have their copays and cost share. Some other things to know about MSP. When somebody has a Medicare Savings Program, or Husky for that matter too, whatever drug plan they're in or an Advantage plan, it will certainly cap all their copays. It'll help tremendously with medications. But you got to be careful. If you put them in a drug plan and the drug they take is not in the formulary, unless they get a formulary exception, the HELP program, Medicare Savings Program, isn't going to cover the drug either. So if it's out of the formulary and they try to get it, they might be thinking to themselves, well, it's fine, I'm on Medicare Savings Program. I'm a QMB or an ALMB, it's going to cap my drugs. It won't if it's out of the formulary of the drug plan. So you got to match the formularies up with what they take. Medicare Savings Program, remember, it will only help with medical copays and cost shares if they're a QMB. And so, for example, if you put somebody in, let's say, an HMO dual plan, they go to a doctor who says, I'm not in the network of this plan, then the QMB is not going to help either. So you got to be careful there. Now, if it's a PPO, it will cover as long as that doctor will agree to see that person on an out-of-network basis with the PPO plan. And again, you don't have to use a dual plan. It'll coordinate, Medicare Savings Program or Husky C will coordinate with any Advantage plan. People usually choose dual because, again, of the extra benefits, the extra dental, vision, those types of things. It's why they'll usually get the dual plan will get the nod. Another tricky topic here is doctors. So if you have somebody who goes to a doctor and that doctor says, well, I don't take state, and they try to bill them. Let's say the person is a QMB and they're on a regular Advantage plan, and the doctor, or they're on Original Medicare for that matter, and the doctor says, well, I don't accept Husky, I don't take state, so you owe me the copay. Technically, they can't do that. If the patient pushes back on that doctor, they'll usually give in and say, yeah, you're right, but then they also have the right to say, don't come back anymore. So it's a little bit of a slippery slope with that, but if a doctor doesn't take state, person shows them their card, goes, really the doctor can't charge them the copay in that situation. So Husky D versus Husky C, this one comes up all the time, even for myself. It comes up. So, the basics, which I'm sure most of you know, but we just got to keep in mind, Husky D is Medicaid for people under age 65. Husky C is for people age 65 or older or eligible for Medicare at an earlier age. So it won't be uncommon at all to have somebody who's turning 65 soon and they're on Husky D. So some questions I always had is, for a while there, I assumed that person's turning 65. They've been on Husky D, which is the Medicaid for people under the age of 65. I just assumed they were automatically moved to Husky C once they turn 65, because you got to have Husky C once you turn 65, and it's not automatic. I honestly never knew that. But they've got to apply. Now, sometimes they'll talk on the phone and somebody will apply for them, or they'll fill out paperwork and apply and don't realize it, but they need to apply. So there is an income and asset test, obviously, on the Huskies, But one trick about this whole thing is when they turn 65, if they're on Husky D, it's a lot easier to qualify for Husky D, under 65 Husky, than it is for C. So a lot of times you'll run into something where the person's turning 65, they're on Husky D, suddenly they apply for C and they get rejected because they don't qualify for C because the income thresholds are so much lower for C than they are for D. So I did a scenario here. Somebody, like I said, they're on Husky D, turning 65. They qualified for D, but they're not going to qualify for C anymore because C's income threshold is much lower, so they're going to get rejected for Husky C. The trick about that is if you say you got that 64-year-old and they're going to be on Medicare in a month. If they have Husky D, you go on Jarvis. Jarvis, for example, is going to show that they're eligible for a dual plan. Well, they are right then, but when they hit 65, if they don't qualify for Husky C, then they won't be anymore. So it's kind of tricky because if they don't get C, they won't be eligible any longer. So, and then the other thing to keep in mind is once they turn 65, I used to think if they were on Husky D, they would still pay their Part B premium. It will not. So they've got to either apply and get C, or the fallback is to always have them apply for QMB. So if you think there's any risk that this person who is on Husky D no longer will qualify once they hit 65 and need to go on Husky C, have them fill out a QMB app. I mean, QMB doesn't have the extra vision, dental, hearing benefits that Husky C does, but it'll pay their Part B premium. It'll do pretty much everything else. So as a fallback, I always say to people, have them fill out a QMB app prior to them turning 65, and just in case they don't get Husky C. But it's not automatic. I always thought it was. Another scenario, prospects not on Husky or QMB when they're turning 65, but they're applying. This one happens a lot. So you get somebody who says, I'm going to be eligible for Husky, or I'm going to be eligible for QMB. They're turning 65. They've just started the application process, and their Medicare effective date's coming. So since they don't have it yet, you enroll them in a regular MAPD plan. Really your only choice in that situation, unless you're putting them in a supplement. And that's new to Medicare, so you're going to get a full commission, initial and true up on that, CMS Max Comp. But then lo and behold, in a few months, they qualify for QMB. So being the good agent you are, they just qualified for QMB, so you move them to a dual plan. And, because they qualified for QMB, they have a special election. They're getting help now, so you can use that special election and move them. And you want to move them to that dual plan to give them the extra dental, the OTC, transportation. Well, unfortunately, when we do that, we're going to get a prorated chargeback. So that person that you wrote that you're going to get CMS Max Comp on in Connecticut, you move them to a dual. There's a couple scenarios there. You move them to a dual, you're going to get charged back. It won't be if it's with the same company and you're moving them, it won't be a rapid disenrollment. But it's going to be a move to a new plan, a different from MA to MA. You're going to get charged back prorated on that premium, or on that commission rather. And then the new plan is only going to be half because that's advantage to advantage. So you're only getting half a payment. So in other words, you're going to take a pretty big hit there. It's even worse if you move them from, let's say you put them on somebody's advantage, and then in 2 months or 3 months time, you move them to a different company's dual plan. You might get a rapid disenrollment. And if you do, in that situation, get a rapid disenrollment, you're going to get charged back on the entire premium, not just prorated, but all of it, or on the entire commission, not just prorated, but all of it. And then when you write them the new plan, you're just getting a half a payment, and it's going to be prorated. So it makes a pretty big difference. Not a lot you can do about it, though, quite frankly. But I would say if you're going to do it, put them in an advantage plan. Maybe you hold off. I mean, they're not missing out on a lot by not having the dual, but if you want to give them the extra dental and vision and stuff, at least make sure it's with the same company. So plan ahead on that for sure. Okay, that's it. I wanted to be fairly quick. I think it was, pretty quick. So we're done. A couple reminders. I get a lot of people that we give everybody full access to Connecture, Sunfire, and Medicare Bot. If you're not using them, you should. If you're still going on CMS's Plan Finder, it's horrifically inefficient to use in Connector or Sunfire. Connector and Sunfire will save. It's a CRM. It'll save all your clients' data. You can enroll them through text or email, quote and compare all the plans, see plans that you don't even have. You can push a button to quote and compare and see all plans. If you're not using it, you should. It's free. It costs you nothing. It's way more efficient for us as agents than using the CMS site. As I mentioned earlier, I will send out a recording of this webinar to everybody that registered. And I think I have some questions, so I want to see if I can maybe answer them. I don't know. We'll see. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Somebody said, I don't really have many questions. Somebody said it'll be good to get the recorded version of this. Yes, I'll send it out to you for sure. So be happy to send out that recording. Let's see if we get any other questions here. Hopefully that was fairly clear. It's a complicated topic. I tried to kind of simplify it and put it into some scenarios that hopefully will make some sense. Doesn't really look like we have any additional questions at this point. So if we don't, again, I remind you, just we can give you access to Connector and Sunfire at no cost, or Medicare Bot. Make sure you're using it. I just see so many people that aren't, and they're, like I said, using the CMS plan finder, and it's just really inefficient. You're not saving doctors lists, drug lists, unless your client creates a profile. So it's just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you. Other than that, I appreciate you coming on today. It looks like we don't have any other questions. If you have any questions, certainly please just, future questions, just call us at the office, send us an email. Be happy to talk to you about it. All right. Hope everybody has a great day. Thanks.